Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube segment, I'm going to be talking about something a little bit different and deviate from the norm of what I generally talk about. In this segment, I'm going to be talking about, I guess we could say, ostracism and persecution. Isolation is going to be incorporated in there. I like to say first and foremost that, as we know about, basically ostracism is when, we have at least, there's some, I don't know if we want to say a sense, or the reality is, some condemnation by society or persecution, and basically shunning, somebody for whatever reason it may be. And I truly believe that ostracism, aside from any physical discomfiture or any kind of pain, hunger, anything that would affect us in a negative manner physically, ostracism is really about the harshest thing somebody has to contend with in life. And I really feel like, at least to some degree, I've had to deal with this, unfortunately. At the time of this video sitting before you, I'm 43 years old. I have no significant other, virtually no family. Remember, I said virtually. I do have some family members that are on Facebook, and I do appreciate that. But I don't really have the amount in the as far as the quantity goes that I guess the average person would have. I feel a lot of the fact that maybe I'm alone. I know we have to look in the mirror sometimes, and I'm a very introverted, private person, and I know a lot of the fact that I am alone and don't have like that significant other in my life is attributed to this. However, there are other factors that play a role in this. Well, for one thing, I don't drive, I don't have a vehicle, I have physical, impairments, I have irrevocable damage to my arms, which is nerve damage, which prohibits me from operating a motor vehicle. I have a very limited income. Unfortunately, we are in a superficial and materialistic society to some degree. I'm not denigrating everybody and saying everybody is this, but a lot of people are, and this does factor in terms of having that significant other. And even as far as platonic friendships go, this could play a role too. A lot of times in life, people are largely judged by their stature in life and how much money they make, and or the job they have, their job status, what they have materially. And a lot of it, what people really should be more cognizant and aware of is that a person really should be judged by their substance and should be judged by their heart, not what they can give somebody monetarily or materially. Somebody doesn't have much money, it doesn't mean they don't have a heart and they don't have that ability or capacity to give. I think all or very close to all of us have that ability in us. We just have to we have to tap into it. We have that ability to project and express love, and that is priceless. You can't put anything monetary as far as a price goes on that, people. Certain things, like I said before, the inability to have a car or a vehicle obviously is a hindrance, and the fact I don't make a lot of money, I know how life is, and also the fact that people can be very flighty and fickle. They could have certain feelings for somebody at one moment, and then before you know it, they take flight, they go to another state, whether it's literally or figuratively or both. And life goes on, dear John, unfortunately. And the thing about I think feeling condemnation and persecution and ostracism, what it does is it can really affect the person. Even in my case, where I know I don't really feel it's that justified, but it still doesn't change the hurt that corresponds with it or is associated with this, unfortunately. Over the years, I mean, I've had, number of setbacks as far as friends have gone, even just, regular male platonic friends, not, female romantic people. Someone will seem like they'll be your friend one minute, and then before you know it, they just kind of dissipate into thin air. Now, I'm aware of the fact that, people have lives to live. And sometimes, people have to progress and they proceed forward. And it's not necessarily that, they're maliciously forgetting about you. But what happens is, they have diversions, they get sidetracked, and I think consequently they'll forget about that person and they put them off for a while. Then all of a sudden, days escalate to weeks, weeks escalate to months, and before you know it, a few, might be several years go by, and all of a sudden you're, astonishingly, you're out of contact with him or her. At the same time, me and, the people that I associate with, or not all of them, but some of the people, we all could, communicate and correspond a little bit more often, and, that obviously, does play a role in things as far as keeping the lines of communication open. I think a lot of times what happens too is when we have certain friends, for example, that we've known, that we knew in our past, we knew like maybe, depending on our age, so now I know a number of you aren't as old as I am that are watching this video, but say even 20, 30 years ago, when you might, have had, a significant, friendship of significance with these people, what I think happens is if a period goes by and you don't really correspond with him or her, and say hypothetically you reconnect on Facebook or some other social networking site, you might, say hi, how you doing, and talk, maybe correspond through the IM system for, a few minutes, and then you may not talk with him or her for a while. And the harsh reality is that, somebody told me this one time, and this was a very solid point, that sometimes what happens is it's not that the person is being malicious, whoever, the people on both ends, but the significance in their mind of him or her has diminished and dwindled due to the fact that they hadn't been corresponding with him or her for such a long period of time, that even though they might have been ecstatic initially when they, got the friend request or what have you, and they might have initially maybe made that little communication or contact momentarily, after that things went back to the quote-unquote norm, and the communication or correspondence dissipates. The thing is that what's important, I think, in life is that I don't believe most of us can communicate telepathically. It only takes, a minute or two, or a few minutes maybe to type something up, or, drop a line to somebody, which is very, which is imperative, to realize that it's not an arduous task to communicate with others. But I want to go back again to what I was talking and rambling a little bit about the ostracism thing. And I had dealt with this when I was little, when I was in school, when I lived in New York. And the harsh reality is, I come to Nashville, I've been here for 19 years, over 19 years, people. And this is a place where, people, are more polite, they're diplomatic, they're friendly, tactful about how they approach you and convey what they need to say to you. They try not to say anything, in a real negative way where it comes across as derogatory or what have you. But I found out, Nashville, and I'm sure like most other major cities in the United States, the end result is the same. I've been here 19 years. I have no significant other to speak of. Whatever women I had gotten involved with, unfortunately, they were either greedy, avaricious, and they weren't in the relationship with me for the right reasons, unfortunately. And some of it has to fall on me. I have to do a little better with my selection process and looking for somebody in life. And even if it turns out to be somebody from another country, I'm not going to judge the person based on the country they're from. It's going to be about their heart and whether there's the physical chemistry compatibility, the mental and the emotional, and that if we both get along. But I think in summation, what I'd like to say is that I think a lot of people are condemned and persecuted in life due to their lack of funds, or the way they live, or the way they carry themselves. I carry a bag around with me for the most part, when I'm riding, the bus and commuting from point A to point B. And unfortunately, I could very well be judged superficially by this. I feel in my heart, I have a lot of good attributes to offer a person. There's a number of good qualities and characteristics that I possess. However, when you are not at a certain stature in life, it's going to impact you. I don't care what anybody says. Now, you might find some people here and there that are not going to be stereotypical, that are going to be non-judgmental of who you are and what you're about, and they're going to look at you for your heart, which should be the underlying thing in all this. But like I said, I can't reiterate this enough or emphasize this enough without sounding too redundant. But you're at a certain point in life, you're at a certain age, things become harder. 43 years old, we're not talking a world of impossibilities in attaining that elusive love, but it is certainly a lot harder now than it was in the past. And age, and I don't want to cry discrimination, but obviously for me to land a woman that is 20 or 30 years old is a lot harder now as opposed to when I was 30 years old. So there's less women now that are going to be apt to be interested in me due to the harsh reality, me being less attractive now as when I was 33 or 23 as opposed to what I'm currently am at the age of 43 years old. So my time's running out. I'm only allowed to do 15-minute videos. I can't exceed 15-minute videos on my YouTube account. So in summation, I think the important message is to try not to judge a book by its cover. Don't ostracize, condemn, or persecute somebody based on the way they live their life or don't live it. If they're not out committing any corrupt acts or crimes, they got a good heart, and there's enough physical compatibility, emotional, mental, what have you, give that person a chance. Don't just cast them off to the side of the road and say, the hell with you, you're not worth the trouble. Because the reality is, the good people in life, no matter, regardless how menial or mundane their job is or their way they make, their income, as long as it's through legal means, everybody's important. As far as those people go, everybody has something, has a heart, to offer, with the exception, I'm talking about, the evil people. I'm not including in this, of course, but I'm talking about the people that are kind-hearted, the people that have the good disposition and that mean well for all intents and purposes in life. Well, people, that will conclude this video. And anyway, I will be uploading more videos in the near future. Until next time, people, stay well.